Over the last week or two at this point, I challenged myself to develop and release a complete game for mobile and PC. At the minute, if you've been following my channel, I'm currently developing a game called The Command Donuts, a top-down shooter based around food. But I thought I'd take a little break from that and work on a new, smaller title. Over the years, I like to randomly note down any game ideas I have in case I get around to actually making one of them, and that's exactly where this game came from. The game is called Warehouse, and as the name suggests, it takes place in a warehouse, where survivors build items to defend from the incoming zombie attacks. Now for this project, I actually took a different approach and made sure that I had all the art assets ready before I even created the Unity project. As I wanted to get this done in a short time, and I'm not the greatest artist anyway, I went for a simple pixel art style, with a pixel per unit count of 16. So, I started getting the idea of what perspective the design should follow, and I found this amazing little demo by Thomas Feichtmeier, I butchered your name, which shows what aspect ratio the designs should follow based on the angle of the camera. For this game, I went for a 30-degree perspective, so for each sprite you would be able to see about twice as much of the top as the front. If you've ever developed games or similar projects, you'll know it can be quite hard to imagine the finished project without the art assets, so by designing all these beforehand, it really helps out mentally, and you can see your progress come together nicely. So I'd really recommend creating at least a basic list of assets before you get used to your game being just made up of squares and circles. So the first sprite I drew up was the human. So using that style guide, I determined that the head should be about 10 pixels tall, with the body and legs being 6. This took me quite a few attempts to get right, but I am happy to introduce Greg, one of the survivors in this apocalypse. Now, you may look at this and think it's a bit weird because everything's in grayscale. Now, the reason I've done this is so I can colour them in Unity to create random variants so they don't all look the same. I then used this sprite as a base for the zombie as well because they're basically the same thing. I just changed the head a bit and added some scars. And now for the environment. The game takes place in a warehouse, so sort of makes sense I drew it warehouse. Originally I was going to make a tile set for this, but I abandoned this as I didn't need it to be modular and it makes it just a bit easier. I just then chucked some stains and cracks all over the place to give it a bit of flair and break up the monotonous pattern of the flooring, and it was all done. Now for the stations, where the humans will craft the various resources. As most of them are essentially decorated tables, I just used the same perspective guide for all of them, which made the design process very easy. Just change the colours and shapes a bit, and you've got a wide variety of stations, all lovingly displayed here, with various tools and relevant items included. And the last visual inclusion is the lighting. As it's supposed to be a bad time for the survivors, I turned the global light way down, added a few spotlights for inside the base, and outside to illuminate the zombies' path, and just overall it looks great when it comes together. You can see here the difference if I turn the lights off and on. It's literally night and day. So what actually is the game? The loop is very simple and is split into two parts. The first is the base, where you order the humans to craft various resources, which are then used in the second part, defending the base from waves of zombies. Each station inside the base will have a certain recipe that a human can work on. If the base has the resources available, they'll get to work and produce new items. The player's main goal in the base is to produce a few key resources, guns for defense, and supplies for the humans. The source of every resource in the game is a scavenger station, which will produce scrap from nothing when manned. Scrap can then be refined at other stations into wood, steel, cloth, and electronics, which can then be refined and combined to create guns, which then leads into the base defense. Every day in-game, there's a good chance that the zombies will attack, and it's up to the player to defend the base. Any available human will rush to the defense posts using the guns you've made to attack the zombies, with the player also stopping the zombies by shooting them with a tap. When the zombies reach the base, they'll start attacking, and if the walls are destroyed, the game is over. If the player manages to kill all zombies, the humans will go back to the base to get working. Every day, the zombies will get stronger, so it's up to the player to manage the production of guns to survive the night. As the item production is very simple, the guns simply refer to the amount of damage that each defender does per shot. On some nights, if the player is lucky and there's space, instead of a wave of zombies spawning, a new survivor would join the base, which makes crafting guns even quicker, as more stations can be manned. The base can support up to 6 humans in total, which makes production and management a lot easier, allowing the player to focus on killing the zombies. The game will end after reaching 30 days as you've survived the zombie onslaught, and the game will allow the player to play again or return to the menu. As it's a very casual experience, I didn't want to have a long, drawn-out game, complex systems, or a save load feature, as it would have just made the development time longer, and I felt like it would have detracted from the basic nature of the game. Overall, I'm very happy with this project. It gave me great experience in pixel art, and plays really well, and is available right now on the Android Play Store and on my itch page, both in the description below. So feel free to check them out, let me know what you think of it, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.